Alright, I'm here to review WCW Monday Nitro episode number 1. I watched it yesterday on the WWE Network. And overall, I'm happy that WWE finally put WCW Nitro episodes on the WWE Network. I hope now with this, the younger audience are able to be educated on what WCW was all about. Because let's be honest, WWE always tries to educate the younger audience about WCW based off the final years of WCW. Vince Russo, David Arquette being the WCW World Champion, Viagra on a pole, Lockbox on a pole match. You kind of get the idea. And I hope now, with the early episodes of Nitro being on the network, fans can watch them and see what WCW was all about. But nonetheless, the first episode, I believe, aired on September the 4th, 1995 from the Mall of America in Minnesota. And overall, I thought it was a fun, enjoyable episode. And to think that the first episode was in a mall, which, by the way, was good. The crowd was hot for this, obviously. The first match was Brian Pillman versus Jushin Thunder Liger. And it's crazy to think that up until that time period, Liger, who was even wrestling even before that, has been in the game for a long time. And he's still wrestling till this day in New Japan. It's crazy to think about that, And the match itself was a very fun, enjoyable match. It went back and forth. There were good sequences. The crowd was hot for this. Maybe there was a botch, one or two, but nonetheless, it was an enjoyable match where Pillman got the win. But again, I thought this was probably the most enjoyable match out of the whole episode, in my opinion. After this, you had an interview between Eric Bischoff, Hulk Hogan, and Jimmy Hart. They're at the food court at the Mall of America. Hulk Hogan at that time period, I think he had a sponsorship with Chef Boyardee. He was doing this whole Pasta Mania campaign, and there were kids around all going crazy. And the main event of Nitro, the first episode, was Hulk Hogan versus Big Bubba Rogers, who we all known as the Big Boss Man for years in WWE. And in this interview, Hogan's talked about Pasta Mania going wild, and how during the Mall of America, WCW making big moves, and how tonight he's going to defeat Big Bubba Rogers. And after this, we had the second match. You had Ric Flair versus Sting for the U.S. title. The big thing about this match was that Lex Luger came out through the crowd, and everyone at the time, believed that Lex Luger was still working for WWE. Even Mongo McMichael, or Stephen McMichael, whatever you want to call him, on commentary said, oh, what the hell is he doing here? Again, everyone thought that Luger was still working for WWE. And this is what I said in my previous video, how back in the day, there wasn't any dirt sheets giving you the inside scoop. So everyone thought it was real, and they had the camera focus on Luger, the crowd chanting Luger. But nonetheless, I felt like that took away more from the match. Up until that time period, Ric Flair and Sting had numerous matches. And this was an okay match. Ended up in a disqualification because Ric Flair had the figure 4 on Sting, and he was holding onto the rope. The referee counted to 5, and he called for the bell. Arn Anderson, who was at ringside at the time, was in a feud with Ric Flair. He got in the ring, got in Flair's face, and they started brawling, and they went to the backstage area, if you will. And after the match, we had an argument between Scott Norton, I think that was his name, and Eric Bischoff, because Norton wanted to have a match in WCW on the debut episode of Nitro. And Bischoff was like, oh, you don't work here, you don't have a contract. And then McMichael got into Norton's face, and they're arguing back and forth. Then out came Randy Savage, who was like, hey, if you want to wrestle so bad, wrestle me, we'll get in the ring right now. And then Bischoff's like, no, it's not going to happen. You don't work here, you don't have a contract. Then you had the main event, Hulk Hogan versus Big Bubba Rogers, aka the Big Boss Man. This was an okay main event. But then again, let's think about it, okay? It's Hulk Hogan, the WCW World Champion, going up against, let's face it, the Big Boss Man. People will always remember him as the Big Boss Man instead of Big Bubba Rogers. Typical Hogan match, where he takes a couple of bumps, and then he hulks up, he does 3 punches, throws into the rope, drops the big boot, drops the leg drop for the win. And that's what happened. And after this, the Dungeon of Doom came out to attack Hulk Hogan. Out came Lex Luger to help Hogan. They cleared the whole Dungeon of Doom out of the ring, and then you have Hogan and Luger staring at one another like a face-off. You have Sting and Macho Man Randy Savage coming out to break it up. They go to commercial, they come back, Mean Gene Okerlund's in the ring, try to conduct an interview. Hogan's like, what are you doing here, Lex Luger? You don't belong here, go back to where you came from. And then Luger said, but Mike, you know what? I've been everywhere that you've been, I've beaten everyone that you've beaten. I am tired of pretty much pleasing the children. I want to be where the big boys play. WCW's slogan at the time was, "This is where the big boys play," or "Where the big boys play." That was their slogan. And Luger said, "You know what? I want a title match against you." And then Hogan and Luger shook hands, and Hogan's like, "If you want, next week, me and you for the title." And that was the main event for episode number 2. And they shoved one another, and the show ended off with them trying to argue, trying to go at it, but Sting and Macho Man already decided we're breaking it up. It's my thoughts on episode number 1. Once again, an enjoyable episode. It's on the network. If you haven't watched it, go check it out. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section of this video. Your thoughts on episode 1 of Nitro. Share this on all your social media, Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, Google+. If you're new to my channel, hit that subscribe button, and I will catch you later next vid. I'm out. Peace. Whenever that may be.